Thanks a lot for joining the session. All the participants, the Sunday sessions have become a regular feature. And believe me, Sunday is a day when we are able to kill the noise. Okay, kill the noise that is there in the street and kill the noise that is there in our mind. When you sit for such sessions, you tend to think more strategic. You tend to just do away with the day-to-day pressures and you tend to think where is your life going towards. तो मेरे ख्याल से ये रिफ्लेक्शन बहुत ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि कभी कभी अपने को नॉइस को किल करके दूर का सोचना जरूरी है. How do I tell you that I am least qualified in terms of taking this session, because of which I am so happy that I am uh, sharing this panel with these three distinguished people. When I say distinguished, don't go by their age. Okay, they are superb in terms of their experience and in terms of the connect which they have with the youngsters. That's the best part. They know exactly how do youngsters think when they are approaching the job. Okay, what happens when the first job interview takes place. Okay, what are the hiccups that take place and what is it that the other side requires. I don't know if I have shared this on any forum or not. With Vidyut, I was traveling from Bombay to Calcutta. It was a 3 hour flight. And in that 3 hour flight, I just asked him a few questions. कि Vidyut, ये बताओ कि when you were in Xavier's, तो in that case, why didn't you do any program? तुमने कोई CA, CFA कुछ भी नहीं किया और तुम्हारे चारों तरफ commerce में everybody was doing this. So how did you get the guts of not doing it? What is your rationale behind the same? And then how did you appear for the interview? Okay, in Uber, what was asked? What happened in McKinsey? What happened in different consultancy organization? Why did you join ISB? Okay, and I found that माने मैं uneducated हूँ. In fact, I tell you one thing. एक particular बहुत पुराना student है मेरा. I can't take name, and he has been designing his CV for around 10 years. ओके, अपना CV सजाता है वो बहुत ज्यादा. विद्युत उसके सामने बैठा और उसको 2 मिनट में वापस से सीवी डिजाइन करके दिया. एंड दिस गाय वाज सेइंग दैट व्हाट वाज आई डूइंग. मतलब अपने जो बोलते ना रेज्यूमे डिजाइन करना, दैट सीम्स टू बी सच अ दिस थिंग टास्क. एटलीस्ट मेरे को ऐसा लगता था एंड आई वाज टेकन अबैक. सो you have a great session in front of you for the next 1 hour. When I talk about Shiladitya and Ishant, no, they are coming from references which are like most respectable for me. Siladitya is coming from Sumangal's reference. Sumangal is the senior equity research analyst at Rare Enterprises. And that is what Shiladitya is going to provide us with. आज के दिन जो भी फाइनेंस का स्टूडेंट है, खासकर जो CFA कर रहा है, जानते उसका क्वेश्चन क्या होता है? सर, हाउ डू आई गेट इनटू द बाय साइड? Okay, Shiladitya is the one who is specializing on how do you get into the buy side. But does it mean that आप उनका LinkedIn पे जाके वो छोड़ दोगे कि please can I get into the buy side? It doesn't work that way, you know. These people are getting so many LinkedIn requests सुबह से रात तक. So it doesn't happen just by request. Of course, you should do that. मतलब insistence, door पे knock करेंगे तभी दरवाजे खुलेंगे. But it requires more than that. So he will share all that. Especially he said that जो public equity market है, the public equity market space, उस पे family offices, okay, the PMSs, the AIFs, उनमें जो requirement होती है, वो requirement is the one that Shiladitya is looking at very, very closely. And I was really surprised yesterday when we connected 5 minutes in the evening when he said that he's from JDBI, okay, Calcutta. तो और ज़्यादा feelings जो है ना वैसे आगे कि यार ये तो यहीं पे grow up हुआ है, तो very huge level of connectivity. Shiladitya का जो the looks है, the first look of Shiladitya, I'm telling you, when I was young, okay, in class 11, 12 or first year, I had the same looks. If I were to show you my picture, उस समय hair head was there and I had a long beard and all. ठीक है? So I could relate a lot. I feel you're extremely sincere and people would be able to relate to you. Coming to ईशांत, ईशांत तो आप लोग को सबसे ज्यादा अपना लगेगा. लगेगा बड़े भैया से बात कर रहे हैं. Because this guy has done CA, rank holder. This guy has been doing CFA. Okay, तो CA CFA वाला बंदा. अभी मैं कल Xavier's में मेरा सेशन था, ठीक है, एंड उसमें पूरा का पूरा बीकॉम का क्राउड है and उसपे से around 75% people were doing CA, 40% were doing CFA, and everybody was thinking that यार CA plus CFA कैसे कर सकते हैं, कैसे नहीं, और उसका डिमांड भी है क्या, क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है, क्या नहीं है. ईशांत was referred by Krishna Killa. Okay, and you know how much regards I have for Krishna Killa. अगर कृष्णा किल्ला ईशांत को चुनता है कि भाई मेरे को वेंचर फंड में कोई बढ़िया कैंडिडेट दो, इसका मतलब ईशांत इज द गो टू पर्सन. ओके, एंड आई से इट ओपनली. Now, once again, you can flood these people on their LinkedIn with requests to join and all that. But all those things will keep on happening. But what they will deliver over here, it's next level stuff. And I request all three of you, Vidyut, Ishant, and Shiladitya, मन से बात करें, दिल से बात करें. दिमाग तो है ही, बट दिल से थोड़ा सा हिंदी लाए, ठीक है, सो दैट कनेक्ट कर पाए. When you think about your days when you were doing CA, CFA, Ishant and Shiladitya, when you were in JDBI and you were seeing people doing various courses, how do these youngsters think? Of course, when I say this, अपने participants में there would also be a number of candidates who are already 3 years, 5 years into the profession. हो सकता है मिड 30s में हो, पुराने कोई सीए किए में मेरे से 2015 में, जो मिड 30s में हैं, एंड नाउ दे आर थिंकिंग अबाउट स्विचिंग ओवर, एंड उनको फिर पेन होता है कि इफ वी स्विच ओवर तो इन दैट केस पैकेज का क्या कट होगा और कैसे स्विच कर सकते हैं. द फर्स्ट पॉइंट दे फॉरगेट इज दैट तुमको पहले स्टफ आना तो पड़ेगा. Okay, you can't just switch over based on your accounting skills and auditing and taxation and reporting skills. So this is it. I think it's a very diversified panel, and I am the one who's all ears into this. Okay, Shubhkant, I'm telling you, I'm not the one who's going to take a lot of queries and all that, but I think because I have not worked in my life, मैं कभी जॉब किया नहीं, मैं जॉब के लिए अप्लाई किया नहीं. ऑफ कोर्स मैंने बहुत सारे करियर्स देखे हैं, ठीक है, बट रियल टाइम एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ सेल्फ अप्लाइंग फॉर जॉब एंड वर्किंग इज नॉट विथ मी. सो दिस इज ऑल ओवर टू ऑल थ्री ऑफ यू. ओके, यू ऑल कैन टेक द लीड.
Thank you so much, sir. So if I may start, firstly, to the entire audience, Sanjay Saraf sir is a colossal figure when it comes to financial education in India. I think nobody comes to him, nobody can match his aura when it comes to this field. So thank you for having me, firstly. Uh, Secondly, so I'll just give a brief idea of what I'm going to discuss, just to give the layout. So I specialize in buy-side public equities as a domain, right? I have been doing it for the last 3 years, worked with all the larger funds in India, right? So my idea would be to give you an idea of how to approach these funds, right? And how to enter this domain, simply put. Let's start with the basics. The way buy-side public equities is structured, right, is that you have on the DII side, the domestic institutions, you have mutual funds, insurance companies, right, pension funds also right now. Apart from that, you have AIFs, PMS, and family offices, right? And you also have FIIs in the picture, right? So what do these guys do? They basically trade in the Indian stock market, quite simply put, right? Now, my idea would be, since I'm guessing most of the audience, 40%, 45% would be freshers, right? How do you really make a mark in this domain and get into this buy side, right? Now, a lot of, these funds get a lot of CVs, right, throughout the year for different positions, right? And if you just send them your CV, in a blanket way, they are not going to respond to you, right? So how do you sort of differentiate yourself to create a mark and get selected for a position, right? So I would say that if I were a student today, let's say pursuing a CFA program, right, and part of this program, the analyst tag program, how I would go about it is that I would first focus on trying to differentiate myself by way of doing a stock pitch, right? So let's take an example. Let's say an Asian Paints, right? You all know Asian Paints. I'm just taking a large cap company. It would be preferable if the student works on, let's say, a mid cap or a small cap company, because it is less covered in some senses, right? But let's assume Asian Paints. Now, for Asian Paints, if I ask 100 students to create a case study, it is highly likely all of them will do the same thing. They will pick up the normal points from the internet, right? And they will go about their research. They will probably do a DCF at the end of it. some kind of valuation they will try and arrive at. The way to differentiate yourself now in such a case study is that you try and do on ground research and give some on ground insights, right? These fund managers, they are looking for some kind of differentiating insight, right, which will help make their lives easier, right? Two is that once you do, let's say, an on ground research, it will show to them that this person is very motivated, self driven, will go out there and do whatever is required to understand the company fully, right? So let's say for Asian Paints, you go and meet, let's say, 10 to 15 dealers of paints, and you try and understand. The question is, let's say, you would have noticed that, in the paint segment, there's this company called Birla Opus, right? Which was started, I think, 1.5, 2 years back, right? Created quite a havoc in the paint segment. Asian Paints also suffered, the stock price went down, various things, market share was taken. So if you were to go to a dealer, right, and do primary research, you could ask the dealer and try and gauge what would be the reason for them to shift from Asian Paints to, let's say, Birla Opus, right? And I can tell you that kind of insight, if you provide to a fund manager, right, from your on ground research, which no other sell side report provides, which other people are not looking at that angle, right? Bringing those angles into the picture is very important, right? And it's very important to realize that, see, as a fresher, you don't have experience on your side. That's quite obvious. But what you can show and display is your hunger, right? And your enthusiasm, right? And I can bet you out, if you start doing something like this, where you're, let's say, mailing your CV along with a sample stock pitch report, it will show both enthusiasm. Your knowledge, of course, will also come out in that report, the way you structure it, and also the kind of work and hard work you put into creating that, right? So that would be my initial first comment, right? uh, Happy to sort of go deeper into this, into the discussion. I'll hand it over to Sanjay sir to, if he has any questions or he wants something for me to clarify, then I can take it.
Once again, you very nicely put it, Shiladitya. In fact, I'll tell my students two things to relate to it. One is all of them are aware of Ashwath Damodaran. So he was telling us when he was, first of all, he saw in his son's monthly statements a lot of payment to Uber. Okay. So he asked this guy, okay, okay, why do you book Uber? So he saw that he normally books it on Friday nights when he's in the club. So he says that I can book the car from the bar. Okay. Is it more costly? No, it's cheaper. Then is it cleaner? Yes, it is cleaner. But all the characteristics were tick, tick, tick. So he was getting a customer centric view, a primary research of why, okay, Uber would make it. Secondly, he then books a Uber himself, Damodaran, and goes about the New York City, not to travel, but to ask the Uber guy what is the business model. Okay, how much cut you all get? Okay, why do you do it? Why can't you do it yourself and all that? So I think if the audience जरा सा भी gap रहा समझने में, that is what Ishant was basically indicating primary research. You know the risk, Ishant, on whatever you said. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट जो है उनको उनको क्या समझ में आया मैं बता रहा हूँ उनको समझ में आया ओके अब से जब सीवी भेजेंगे एक स्टॉक रिपोर्ट भेज देंगे स्टॉक रिपोर्ट कैसे भेजेंगे अपने जीपीटी या क्लाउड में जाएंगे और जाके वहां से रिपोर्ट निकाल लेंगे सिंस ईशांत ने बोला है कि प्राइमरी रिसर्च है तो उसको जो कमांड मारेंगे वो कमांड क्या होगा treat me as a fresher who has conducted primary research on Asian paints by talking to 30 dealers and design a report in such a manner that it is reflective of the fact that I have conducted primary research. You know, मतलब जब तक आप गेम करोगे ना ऑफ कोर्स आई एम अप्रिशिएटिव ऑफ द फैक्ट दैट आपने क्लॉड में जाके ये सब पूछा और क्लॉड ने इनसाइट्स दिया जिससे फॉर एजुकेशन पर्पस इट्स ओके बट जो भी ये सब करेगा ना व्हेन द पर्सन इज सिटिंग ऑन द इंटरव्यू टेबल वो दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो जाएगा ओके दैट्स व्हाट आई वांटेड टू टेल द स्टूडेंट्स यू कैन टेक इट फॉरवर्ड
या नो तो ये यही कहने का था कि धंधे को समझो. You have to understand the core business model. In today's day and age, the same research that everybody is doing is becoming a commodity of sorts, right? So khud ko you should differentiate yourself and try and bring those insights to the table which will really impress the interviewing person. Normally how the rounds happen is that you will let's say you send this across, right, that your CV, right, and the CV should be a one pager according to me, with mentioning the key points. Try and mention, so let's say if you do a couple of case studies, let's say Asian Paints, or you do it on some other companies, try and mention like one line on it, that conducted a a case study, or uh, prepared a case study report on such and such company. This was the what came out of it, maybe a few points here. Conducted primary research to gain insights, and that's how you take it forward. Of course, then you on the top you can mention all your academic qualifications, right? And you can mention maybe a line or two on your motivation, right, to do such and such work. Normally, people call it a covering letter. That can be a brief one pager actually, or you can also include it in the CV itself, maybe a couple of lines. Normally, with fresher, the problem is filling up the CV. I've noticed this even during my MBA days. So that will take up some space also. Just gives it a better look, and you send it across along with your uh, let's say report, right? In that report, you can add pictures also from your visits, on-site visits also, just to add that credibility or that authenticity. And after that, the round will happen where, obviously, uh, firstly, if you mail, let's say 100 funds, maybe five will respond, right? But the five that will respond, they are definitely impressed by your work and they think you deserve a chance, right? And once you get into that, they will probably give you another case study to work on. It's very important, I would say, to display your passion for investing in those discussions, right? In that, you can mention the kind of people that have inspired you. I was personally inspired by Rakesh Jhunjhunwala long back. That is, my entire generation actually would have probably been inspired by the likes of him, right? So you can mention people who have inspired you, whether it be in the US or Indian investors. You can mention those. You can mention certain books that you really like. Maybe let's say Peter Lynch's One Up on Wall Street, right? So those kind of books show that you are deeply interested in the subject and not just doing it for the sake of doing a job. Nobody wants somebody who just comes for a job, right? They prefer somebody who is really driven, passionate, and can do this for the next 10, 15 years out of curiosity and out of this sheer love for it. Of course, you will make a lot of money in the process. There's no doubt about it, right? If you're a good investor. And yeah, one thing which you can also do is that if you maintain a personal portfolio, right? I know that being a student, obviously, you might not get, a huge amount of capital, right? But a little bit which you get from here and there, you can show that, you're buying these stocks also. So it sort of reinforces the idea of skin in the game, right? And that you have true conviction in those companies, right? And that just shows your interest and intent more than anything else. Yeah.
I think the initial pickup that you have provided to the students is perfect. There is no doubt about it. But there would be a lot of Q&A tabs, filled up, and there we will see what they want to ask further. Okay, one thing I wanted, which I will allow in the second half of this thing, is that if you recollect a particular instance where a particular family office or whatever DII was scouting for somebody, and then you came across someone, and that someone had such and such characteristics, and the matchmaking which happened was phenomenal. And post facto also the DII tells you that उस जैसा candidate देना. Okay, वो अगर
Yeah.
आपको याद आए ना ऐसा कुछ, you don't have to take names, neither the DII name nor the candidate's name, but if you tend to remember, that story will really hit people. Like I remember the story of Tarang. Tarang joined Old Bridge Capital way back in 2016-17. Very young, 27, 28 years old. CA dropped out. Okay. And this guy submitted to Kenneth the research report of Delta Corp. And that time there was no GPTs. Okay. So the report was very good enough. He had done his hard work and therefore he was able to impress Kenneth and he straight away got into Old Bridge Capital. Okay. So I know that case study in itself. But otherwise, you would be knowing so many of them कि recently जो हुआ है ऐसा तो वो आप एग्जाम्पल अगर शेयर करना चाहो आप अभी भी कर सकते हो छोटा सा अगर आपको याद आ रहा है तो
Sure. So I'll share one example which comes to my mind right now. So while this person did his MBA in marketing and everything, he used to work at Misho also, right? But truly passionate about equities. But here's how you can sort of, and why I'm using this example is how you can use your passion and your intention to really convert such opportunities. So he was working, at a very high paying job, all of that, quit his job to manage his personal money portfolio, but realized he really wants that institutional sort of, learning, right? And wants to work with pedigreed individuals, right? So what he did was, I had only actually told him to do this, that along with your CV, you send a couple of stock pitches which are very, which will help you, right? You won't believe it. That person has converted one of the best performing small cap PMSs. Being like he was treated as a fresher because obviously you come from a non-investing background. But then he also converted it even after, being in marketing through and through his career, right? Marketing strategy, those kind of domains. That's one example. I know I placed, in fact, one candidate from Calcutta also. He used to work at a family office for some time. From a family office, he's gone to an FII, right? Family Office of Calcutta. And the way he converted it, I told him that you have to mail this person. He mailed the fund manager with his CV and two case studies, one on Axis Bank, I think, Axis Bank and one more entity. And the depth that he provided, right? The understanding of the business, the moats, the key moats in the business that he identified, that really struck a chord with the fund manager and he converted that. So I've seen many examples of this, in fact. And in fact, Tarang, who you mentioned, has become a very big analyst at, Old Bridge, right? And he's well regarded. I've heard of him. I haven't met him yet personally, but I've heard of him just recently last week at the Kotak conference that he was asking great questions, right? So, people really stand out once they have entered the domain and once they work towards their goal.
correct. I think we can move on to Ishant.
Thank you, sir, for the beautiful introduction that you gave in the start of this session. And thank you, Shiladitya, for providing such insights about how things work at family offices and how you get into those roles. So, I am a chartered accountant. So, I am running FinRoles for the past 2 years. And what we have done in FinRoles is we are connecting startups with these VCs, IBs, and helping them in hiring in the finance fields. So, in the front end roles as well as the back end roles. So, their major ask is if you are referring any candidate, how strong he is in their finance thing, how he deeply know what are the financials, how he deeply know how to value a company, and how you understand financial statements very deeply. Now, if you are a CA student or a CFA student, you know what a financial statements are, but understanding them deeply, analyzing them, what are their projections, how the financial statements looks after 10 years. This is what a VC or IB looks in a candidate, whether he will be able to make a financial model for us, whether he understand financial statements deeply or not, because they they work on financial models. They evaluate companies whether their profit looks reasonable after 5 years. They work on projections. They work on these things like uh, how the revenue looks after 5 years, how the profit looks after 10 years. on the basis of which they apply DCF model or a sales comparison method in order to evaluate the valuation of a company. So this is broadly that investment banking firm or venture capital fund are looking for the candidate. So if you are a CA or a CFA student, you are more aware about the theoretical knowledge, but they are more concerned about how you are applying it in the real world. So whenever you are sending any CV or whenever you are approaching a person over LinkedIn, or maybe if you are presenting someone, uh, uh, in a physical meets that many people are arranging right now in Calcutta. If I talk about in Mumbai as well, there are many mixes that are happening where startups are also coming, IBs are also coming, VCs are also coming, but they are more concerned about how you are practically applying. Since you are a fresher, you don't have that practical knowledge or aspect, but you can develop it, you can get into that, you can there are many sources available in the market right now. If I talk about, there are Chat GPT, there are Claude AI, they will give you how these financial models are. Like sir has also touched on, you can just type it, please give a financial model of so and so company. But how that financial model works and how that financial model is developed, that the back end process, you should know very deeply. ठीक है, practically you are not aware, but you can understand, you can put in that prompts ki how this model is working, how the valuation is derived from DCF approach or the sales comparison approach. So whenever you are approaching to an IB, you should have that financial model ready and you can attach it, that this is what I have learned and this is what this is the thing that I have developed from the past 1 year or 5 months or 2 months, and you can just attach with your resume, so that it will give a already a confidence in that company or the person who will interview you, that you are much aware about these things, and you can definitely, once you get into our company, you will definitely learn more and more good. So this is something I will touch in the later stages as well. And I love to hear thoughts, what Sanjay sir wants to add on in this. And if something is up and down, he can definitely guide me.
So, Ishan, just to be clear, you talked about investment banker, who is the channel which will connect the VCF to the VCU. Okay. So there are three entities now. One is the investment bank. Second is the VCF, venture capital fund. Third is the venture capital unit, the startup. Okay. So when these students are thinking about a career in startups, thinking about a career in this space, so you are trying to say that uh, जो VC जो इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंक्स है उन लोग को हायर करना है सीएस को सीएफएस को सो दैट दे कैन पिच वीसीयू का प्रपोजल टू द वीसीएफ देन जो VCF है उनको भी चाहिए CAs and CFAs so that those CAs and CFAs can help them evaluate the prospective venture capital units. And perhaps शायद आप यही बोलना चाह रहे थे कि venture capital units भी जो हैं जो startups हैं उनको भी कुछ हद तक CAs या CFAs चाहिए होते हैं for the purpose of managing their own financials optimally to reduce the cash burn to the extent possible and to also make presentations to the IB or to the VCF. तो ये space में this is the space in which you are working. Have I summarized it well?
Yes, sir. Very, very clearly. Yes, sir.
ओके और इसमें आप ये बोलना चाह रहे थे कि सर तो वो जो कैंडिडेट है जो CA CF है जो इस स्पेस में जाना चाह रहा है अल्टीमेटली जाके उसको फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट का पकड़ बहुत जोर का होना चाहिए एंड वो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स तो पास्ट के फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स है जिसके हेल्प से उसने ड्राइवर्स समझा उसने समझा कि व्हाट इज द बिजनेस मॉडल ऑफ दिस कंपनी हाउ इज इट डिफरेंट सिमिलर कंपनीज कौन सी है व्हाट इज द टैम व्हाट इज द मार्केट शेयर और वो सब लेके वो बंदा प्रोजेक्शंस कर सके वो प्रोजेक्शंस करते समय हो सकता है आज के दिन क्लॉड यूज करेगा और करना भी चाहिए नो डाउट बिकॉज अपने वो काम क्यों करेंगे जो इनएफिशिएंटली हो सकता है बट द क्रक्स ऑफ द मैटर इज दैट जो आउटपुट आएगी द आउटपुट हैज टू स्पीक आउट द मेन रियलिटी ऑफ द बिजनेस ना ओके तो यू आर
Correct.
ट्राइंग टू स्पीक अबाउट दिस करेक्ट
Correct. Correct.
ठीक है perfect ठीक है so we will come back to you okay once we गेट टू विद्युत, बिकॉज विद्युत मेरे को पता है स्टूडेंट्स क्या सोच रहे होंगे अभी आफ्टर लिस्निंग टू बोथ शिलादित्य एंड टू ईशांत। दैट्स ये जो टेक्निकलिटीज है ना, कि ईशांत ने जो बोला एफएसए पे स्ट्रेस दिया एंड फाइनेंशियल मॉडलिंग पे, एंड शिलादित्य ने जो बिजनेस मॉडल पे और प्राइमरी रिसर्च प्रोवाइड करने पे किया, बिकॉज आई थिंक शिलादित्य का बहुत क्लियर था कि हाउ डू यू डिफरेंशिएट। आप सब जन तो अप्लाई कर रहे हो ना, अप्लाई करने में लगता ही क्या है, बट एप्लीकेशन में से वो डिफरेंशिएट कैसे होगा अगर आपने एक पर्टिकुलर केस स्टडी डाली है जिसमें प्राइमरी रिसर्च है। ठीक है, तो मेरे को वो बहुत वो पॉइंट ऐसा, अगर मैं बैठा हूँ एज अ स्टूडेंट मेरे को वो सूट किया कि यस दिस इज द डिफरेंशिएटर। प्लस मेरे पास रियल एक्सपीरियंस है तरंग का भी, तो आई एम गेटिंग वेरी दिस थिंग अबाउट इट। एंड Ishant added it up by saying that you have to have very deep analytical skills as far as opening up the financial statement. Okay, ईशांत ने खुद ने सीएफए किया है तो उसको पता है कि जिस तरह से सीए में हम लोग इंड एएस और रेगुलेशन सारा जानते हैं, और फिर सीएफए में उसके आगे जर्नी चलाते हैं कि भाई ये हो गया, बना दिया तुमने, अब लाओ हम इसको खोलते हैं। ठीक है ना, कि कहाँ कहाँ गड़बड़ की हुई है। तो आई एम गेटिंग द स्टफ नाउ। विद्युत, यू गो टू द मोर रूटर लेवल एंड यू इधर थ्रू योर जर्नी और वॉट एवर यू टॉक अबाउट क्या प्रॉब्लम चल रही है फ्रेशर्स में एंड हाउ डू दे अटैक द इश्यू एंड बी वेरी ब्लंट। अगर कोई चीज, मतलब अपने को यहाँ पे अपने सूदिंग के लिए नहीं बैठे हैं कि डोंट वरी आप लोग का हो जाएगा एंड ऑल दैट, यू हैव टू स्पीक अबाउट द ब्रूट रियलिटीज विच आर देयर इन द मार्केट प्लेस। टेक इट ऑन प्लीज।
Sure. I hope I'm audible. Thank you so much, sir, for the wonderful introduction. I was hoping you don't talk about the flight conversation that you and I have had. Now, in the anticipation, I'm going to give the secrets to the audience also today on what it actually takes to crack a consulting case. It is a lot more of preparation beforehand than what you actually do at the interview table. And thank you so much, Shiladitya and Nishant, for your wonderful insights for covering the technical side of things. As sir mentioned, I'm going to go to the rooters level of preparing for interviews, and I'm going to tell the audience some generic stuff. So, audience, I hope you're ready to have fun with me in this session. This is not a session that is going to be one-sided where I'm just going to preach and I'm going to tell you aisa karo, vaisa karo. Nahi. By the way, my LinkedIn profile is open. Feel free to DM me. Feel free to send me your resume samples. Feel free to ask me for suggestions. I will try to answer or respond to as much as possible. Rest, of course, I will cover everything in the analyst stack. Today, it is to give you a flavor of what we are going to cover. So, I'm going to cover primarily two things in this particular session. One is how you enter the inner circle. मैं इसको इनर सर्कल इसलिए बोल रहा हूं क्योंकि बिलीव मी, नॉट एवरीवन गेट्स द प्रिविलेज ऑफ बीइंग इन दिस इनर सर्कल टू अप्लाई फॉर इंटरव्यूज, एंड यू आर नॉट इवन हैंड पिक्ड. यू आर नॉट इवन हैंड पिक्ड. यू हैव टू मेक वे इन टू दिस इनर सर्कल. तो आप कैसे इनर सर्कल में घुस सकते हो सो दैट यू गेट द अटेंशन दैट यू डिजर्व. Even though you have done the certifications, these are just entry tickets. They will not get you to the interview table unless and until you do a few things, which I'm going to cover right now. The second part which I'm going to talk about is your consulting toolkit. तो आई एम अज्यूमिंग अ लॉट ऑफ कॉलेज स्टूडेंट्स, मैं भी था उस जगह में इसीलिए मैं रिलेट कर पा रहा हूँ. मिकिन्जी, बेन और बीसीजी, ये जो एमबीबी वाला वर्ड यूज होता है ना पूरे सर्कल में, मिकिन्जी, बेन, बीसीजी, यहाँ जाने का नशा अलग ही होता है. मतलब आप दिन रात खाली सोचते रहते हो काश मैं मिकिन्जी में कंसल्टिंग करूं, मैं भी वो लाइफ जीऊं जहाँ पे बोलते हैं लिविंग आउट ऑफ अ सूटकेस. हर मंडे फ्लाइट पे बैठूं, हर फ्राइडे वापस आऊं, रहूं 5 स्टार होटल्स में, लिव द कंसल्टिंग लाइफ. सोशल प्रूफ इज हाई. सूट टाइप पहन के जाऊं, मतलब एवरीबडी जस्ट गेट्स इनटू ऑ. ओ मैकिन्जी कंसल्टेंट आ गया रूम में, बेन कंसल्टेंट आ गया, बीसीजी कंसल्टेंट आ गया. तो लेट्स मेक दोज ड्रीम्स ऑल्सो अ रियलिटी. लेट्स गिव यू द टूल किट ऑन हाउ यू कैन एटलीस्ट गिव योर बेस्ट at that interview table to get hired as one of the most coveted consultants in this world. So we'll begin by how you enter the inner circle. So यहाँ पे I'm going to cover role clarity. I'm going to cover funnel gates. I'm going to cover resume bullet formula, because I personally see that a lot of students in today's time share pages and pages of resume. Let me tell you guys, at least हम इतने तो अचीव नहीं कि हम इलॉन मस्क से ऊपर हैं आज के दिन. इलॉन मस्क का भी 1 पेज का रेज्यूमे है. यू कैन पुल इट आउट फ्रॉम द इंटरनेट. इंटरनेट पे फ्रीली मिलता है इलॉन मस्क का रेज्यूमे. 1 पेज का रेज्यूमे है. तो अपने अपने आई एम श्योर अपना अचीवमेंट्स 1 पेज पे कम्युनिकेट कर सकते हैं पोटेंशियल इंटरव्यूअर को. वील कवर दैट. वील ऑल्सो कवर द लिंक्डइन फॉर्मूला. कैसे आपका लिंक्डइन दिखना चाहिए, बिकॉज लेट्स बी रियल, लिंक्डइन इज योर सेकेंड रेज्यूमे. इफ योर लिंक्डइन इज ब्लैंक एंड योर रेज्यूमे इज हैवी, trust me, you are not going to get the call, because the interviewer will feel that your resume is exaggerated. Your LinkedIn introduction, profile, description, your engagement on LinkedIn needs to echo what you have written on your resume. इनफैक्ट लिंक्डइन आने के बाद रिक्रूटर्स के पास एक सेकंड लेवल चेक आ गया है कि अच्छा इसका लिंक्डइन प्रोफाइल खोल के देखते हैं कि ये प्रोफेशनल सोशल मीडिया पे क्या कर रहा है। रील्स देखने के बजाय, रील्स तो हम सब देख लेते हैं अच्छे से इंस्टाग्राम पे घुमा घुमा के दिन भर, बट जो वैल्यू एडिशन प्लेटफॉर्म है उस पे हम क्या कर रहे हैं, दैट सिग्नल्स वैल्यू अलॉन्ग विथ योर रेज्यूमे. एंड लास्ट में आई एम गोइंग टू गिव यू द कंसल्टिंग टूल किट. So I will take you through my journey for 2 minutes. Thereafter, we will go through everything that I have mentioned in terms of getting into the inner circle, and we'll end it up with a consulting toolkit. In fact, I would like everyone to just hold their nerves on. We are also going to do a live guesstimate. कंसल्टिंग में क्या करते हैं ये मेरे को पूछा गया था बाय द वे मैकिंजी के फाइनल इंटरव्यू में. आई गिव यू अ फ्लेवर ऑफ दैट ऑल्सो. अपने मिलकर सॉल्व करेंगे गेस्टिमेट को. माई जर्नी इज प्रिटी सिंपल. आई एम ऑन पेपर अंडर क्वालिफाइड देन मोस्ट ऑफ यू ऑन दिस कॉल. Neither have I done a CA, nor have I done a CFA, nor have I done an MBA. Yet, I was the fourth employee at Uber East India right after college. Then I went on to work in Dubai in one of the first firms that got listed on NASDAQ, the first Middle East company that got listed on NASDAQ at a $1.5 billion valuation. And let me tell you, I didn't interview for that role. I did not interview for that role. ये आप मेरे hiring manager को भी message करके पूछ सकते हो. I was handpicked. Zero interviews for that role at a salary of about 1.2 crore rupees a year. Although we don't discuss salaries, but I'm trying to showcase to you what you can achieve by building these things एंड नॉट जस्ट हैविंग थिंग्स ऑन पेपर. अच्छा मैंने ये डिग्री कर लिया, मैंने ये सर्टिफिकेशन कर लिया, अब मुझे मैं डिजर्व करता हूं जॉब. नो यू डोंट डिजर्व. कंपटीशन बहुत स्ट्रांग है. कंपटीशन इज brutal. Competition is brutal, trust me. You have to find and get your place. You have to stamp on that chair that नहीं मैं ये जगह डिजर्व करता हूं. This is my journey. I'm going to tell you about my journey in each of the sections that I take you through. कैसे इसको कर सकते हैं. So let's begin with role clarity. So today we are going to be building on three things that decide whether you will get interviews or not in the future. One is clarity. What exact roles are you targeting? स्टूडेंट्स को मैं अक्सर देखता हूं बोलते हुए, सर मुझे फाइनेंस में घुसना है. अरे भाई फाइनेंस बहुत बड़ा फील्ड है. क्या करना चाहते हो फाइनेंस में? खुलकर बोलो क्या करना चाहते हो. अगर आप खुलकर बोलोगे नहीं, आपको क्लैरिटी नहीं है, तो अगर आप ही को क्लैरिटी नहीं है तो इंटरव्यूअर को कहां से क्लैरिटी होगा कि मैं कहां पे इसको फिट करूं, कहां पे ये डिजर्व करता है. तो आई थिंक द फर्स्ट पार्ट इज क्लैरिटी. द सेकेंड इज द अथॉरिटी सिग्नल, जो मैंने रेज्यूमे और लिंक्डइन की बात की. Your resume and LinkedIn should be in a manner that the recruiter feels that this person already belongs in my organization. He is not applying. मैं जब तुम्हारा लिंक्डइन और रेज्यूमे देखूं तो मुझे लगे अरे यार मेरा तो जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन इसी यही तो खोज रहा हूं मैं. ये तो वॉक द टॉक कर रहा है, मुझे इसको लेना है अपने कंपनी में. तो दैट दोज आर अथॉरिटी सिग्नल्स. थर्ड इज राउटिंग. थर्ड इज राउटिंग. लिख लो, आप लोग के पास पेपर पेन है तो लिख लो. क्लैरिटी, अथॉरिटी सिग्नल्स, राउटिंग. व्हाट इज राउटिंग? हाउ यू रीच द डिसीजन मेकर्स विदाउट बेगिंग. आप में से जितने भी यहाँ पे हैं वेबिनार में, आप मेरे को लिंक्डइन कर दोगे सर मुझे जॉब दिला दो. लेट मी बी ब्रूटल. ऑनेस्टी, नो ईगो. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू यू, बट आई विल टीच यू हाउ टू रीच टू मी सो दैट इट डजंट लुक लाइक यू आर बेगिंग. And I am forced to respond to you. I am forced to respond to you. That is routing. So if you are a college student, this session prevents you from being one more fresher CV. But if you're already working, the session will help you reposition for better roles. So let's dive into the role clarity part. So most students lose at hiring because they are vague, as I already said. Recruiters do not have the time to figure you out. Recruiters के पास आज के दिन tools हैं जिससे वो figure out करते हैं कि कैंडिडेट को लेना चाहिए नहीं, क्योंकि उनके पास हजारों लाखों एप्लीकेंट्स रहते हैं. हर रिक्रूटर पढ़ता नहीं है एक एक जन का रेज्यूमे. तो अपने को एक प्राइमरी रोल और एक सेकेंडरी रोल अपने लिए डिसाइड करना है. तो what is a primary role? Primary role is your main target. Your resume and your LinkedIn should be optimized for this role. What is a secondary role? Secondary role is adjacent role. Small tweaks, but okay, I might want to settle for this role also. I'll give you an example. A primary role can be of an equity research analyst. Secondary can be research associate or an investment analyst. So primary can be an equity research analyst. Secondary can be a research associate or an investment analyst. Equity research means analyzing listed companies and writing investment views. Research associate means doing similar work, more execution support and model or reports. तो आपने ये क्लियर कर दिया कि मेरा प्राइमरी रोल ये है, मेरा सेकेंडरी रोल ये है. तो अब आपको लिखना है, यू शुड राइट इन योर पेपर एंड पेन दैट योर व्हाट इज योर प्राइमरी एंड सेकेंडरी रोल, राइट? सो यू राइट दैट फर्स्ट कि मेरा प्राइमरी रोल ये है, मेरा सेकेंडरी रोल ये है. योर लिंक्डइन बायो शुड आल्सो रीड प्राइमरी रोल, सेकेंडरी रोल, लुकिंग फॉर प्राइमरी रोल, देन अ पीरियड लुकिंग फॉर द सेकेंडरी रोल. डोंट राइट प्राइमरी एंड सेकेंडरी रोल्स वर्बेटिम, बट रोल का नाम होना चाहिए वहां पे, बिकॉज दिस विल अलाउ यू टू कम ऑन सर्चेस व्हेन रिक्रूटर सर्च इक्विटी रिसर्च एनालिस्ट, आपका प्रोफाइल दिखेगा क्योंकि आपने हेडलाइन में डाल दिया आपका प्राइमरी रोल. तो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस टू डिफरेंशिएट आवर सेल्स बाय फर्स्ट बीइंग क्लियर कि मेरा प्राइमरी रोल क्या है, मेरा सेकेंडरी रोल क्या है, और मैं वही चाहूंगा कि लोग देखे मेरे सारे प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे, लिंक्डइन पे, रेज्यूमे पे. अब लेट्स गेट टू द हायरिंग फनल्स. लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई स्मार्ट स्टूडेंट्स डोंट गेट कॉल्स. व्हाई स्मार्ट स्टूडेंट्स डोंट गेट कॉल्स. हायरिंग इज नॉट फेयरनेस गाइज. लेट मी बी वेरी क्लियर, हायरिंग इज नॉट फेयरनेस. आप बहुत कुछ कर चुके हो लाइफ में और आप बोलोगे कि नहीं मैं तो कर चुका हूं तो मैं डिजर्व करता हूं कॉल. यस यू डिजर्व, बट द वर्ल्ड इज नॉट फेयर. Hiring is not fairness, it is about risk reduction. A company is not asking who is the best. कंपनी ये नहीं पूछ रही. कंपनी ये पूछ रही है who is the safest to bet on. Who is the safest to bet on. I'll showcase a funnel to you. Imagine this, 1,000 applicants are there. 100 लोग का प्रोफाइल दिखता है रिक्रूटर को. आउट ऑफ 1,000 100 गोज. 100 इज इन फ्रंट ऑफ द इंटरव्यूअर. उसमें से 20 स्क्रीन होते हैं. 20 स्क्रीन होते हैं मतलब इंटरव्यूअर 20 प्रोफाइल पढ़ते हैं, 5 को इंटरव्यू देते हैं और उसमें से ऑफर एक को आता है. तो आप वो 1,000 में से हैं जो अप्लाई किए हैं पर ऑफर एक ही को गया है. बिटवीन ईच ऑफ दी स्टेजेस देर इज अ गेट. देर इज अ गेट बिटवीन ईच स्टेज. इफ यू फेल द गेट यू डिसअपियर, एंड यू डिसअपियर फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम. तो आपको हर गेट का चाबी चाहिए. यू हैव टू अनलॉक द लॉक्स ऑफ ईच एंड एवरी गेट. I will tell you what are the gates are. And please trust me, guys. You can feel free to note it down. Obviously, we will elaborate a lot on this in the analyst stack also. But if you feel you should write it down for recall, please go ahead and do it. So the first gate is visibility. What is visibility? Visibility means, can the right person even discover you? If nobody sees you, your talent doesn't matter. You could be an AIR1. You could be an AIR1. But if the right person doesn't discover you, वो AIR1 का कोई वैल्यू नहीं है आज के दिन. Right? Examples. If your LinkedIn headline, like I said, does not contain the role title, you won't appear in searches. If you apply through portals, you are competing with thousands, but invisibly. मैं आप सबको एनालिस्ट स्टैक में पूछूंगा. ट्रस्ट मी, कम विद द आंसर इन द लास्ट 30 days. पोर्टल्स पे तो आप अप्लाई करोगे, बट माय क्वेश्चन विल बी हाउ मेनी रिक्रूटर कॉन्वर्सेशंस हैव यू हैड, नॉट एप्लीकेशंस. कितने कॉन्वर्सेशंस किए हो ह्यूमंस के साथ. 30 से बात करोगे, 50 से बात करोगे तो एक से जवाब मिलेगा. पोर्टल पे अप्लाई करना बहुत ईजी है आजकल. तो कोई एआई एजेंट बना लोगे जो हर पोर्टल को सर्च करके आपका एप्लीकेशन रेज्यूमे सबमिट कर देगा उस पोर्टल में. और रात को जब आप सोने जाओगे आपको लगेगा यार आज बहुत अच्छा दिन गया, मैंने 300 से 400 कंपनीज में अप्लाई की. सुबह उठोगे या तो रिप्लाई नहीं आएगा या सबसे रिजेक्शन आ चुका होगा. तो वो एनर्जी लाना, वो एनर्जी को राइट तरीके से इन्वेस्ट करना इज द आर्ट. आर्ट इज नॉट कि क्वांटिटी कितने जगह अप्लाई किए, कैसे अप्लाई किए इज द आर्ट. सो विजिबिलिटी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इफ योर आंसर टू मी इन एनालिस्ट टैक इज मैंने 0 रिक्रूटर कॉन्वर्सेशंस की है, बिलीव मी योर रिसर्च इज पैसिव नॉट एक्टिव. द सेकेंड गेट इज परमिशन. परमिशन मीन्स 6 सेकेंड जो आपका रेज्यूमे दिखता है कि एक रिक्रूटर को, हाउ डू यू लुक वर्थ 10 मिनट्स. इन 6 सेकेंड्स हाउ डू यू लुक वर्थ 10 मिनट्स की इसको मेरे को चांस देना चाहिए. रोल फिट, प्रूफ, क्लैरिटी, कीवर्ड्स एंड अल्टीमेटली और प्रोफेशनलिज्म. परमिशन किलर्स. व्हाट आर द परमिशन किलर्स. परमिशन कैसे नहीं मिलता. कोई रोल का डायरेक्शन नहीं है, स्किल सेट रैंडम है, सर्टिफिकेशंस लिख दियो रेज्यूमे में, आई एम अ CFA चार्टर होल्डर, आई एम अ CA, आई एम ऑल इंडिया रैंक. नो नंबर्स. मैंने ये किया, मैंने ये मॉडल बनाया, मैंने ये एनालाइज किया, क्या हुआ उसका रिजल्ट. एवरीबडी नीड्स नंबर्स. व्हाट हैपेंड विथ योर इनिशिएटिव. आपने जो एफर्ट लिया उसको क्या आप क्वांटिफाई कर सकते हो. क्वांटिफिकेशन कैन बी योर एफर्ट इंक्रीज द टर्नओवर ऑफ द कंपनी, योर एफर्ट रिड्यूस द कॉस्ट ऑफ द कंपनी, your effort reduced human intervention, human activity by these many hours, you improved productivity. Your analysis led to so many people reach out to you to discuss that report in detail. Number, even if it is a small number, quantification is very important in every single line item in your resume. Believe me, it is very important. Without that, it is all fluff. You have to quantify. Coming to the third gate is proof. What is a proof? Proof means, can you demonstrate work output? Certifications show effort, proof shows capability. Note it down. Certification shows effort, proof shows capability. What are examples of proofs? I built a two-page stock memo that resulted in this. I am presenting to you a model that I have built, a dashboard that I built that allows me to monitor all my investments in one page in the morning in just 5 minutes instead of going through different portals and seeing मैंने क्या investments किया. एक case write up किया मैंने on, let's say, the budget that recently came, right? So that is what is proof. Gate 4 is trust. What does trust mean? Do you communicate like someone we can work with? Clear speaking is low risk. If you don't build trust, you will land up in a back end role where you don't have to speak to anyone. You don't have to face the clients. None of us want to be in that role. None of us want to be in that role. All of us want limelight. All of us want attention. All of us want visibility so that we can move up the ladder. And visibility, limelight, attention only comes if you are in a client facing role. Because to any organization, if your client praises you कि अच्छा विद्युत ने मेरे साथ ऐसा एंगेजमेंट किया, आई लव्ड इट, उसने ये प्रेजेंट किया, दैट इज वैलिडेशन. वैलिडेशन इज नॉट सिटिंग बिहाइंड द स्क्रीन एंड जस्ट राइटिंग रिपोर्ट्स और क्रंचिंग नंबर्स. आजकल तो क्लॉड ही वो कर रहा है, तो आपको नंबर्स क्रंच करने की भी नीड नहीं है, आपको उसके लिए हायर ही नहीं किया जाएगा. सो एंड द फाइनल गेट इज क्लोजेबिलिटी. Closability means, will you join if offered? Recruiters avoid candidates who will negotiate emotionally or delay decisions without clarity. आप शॉपिंग कर रहे हो, ये सारे क्या रिक्रूटर को पता है, बट देर हैज टू बी अ टाइम वेर यू पुल द बुल बाय इट्स हॉर्न एंड से कि नहीं, this is what is this is what is required, this is what I want, I'm not going to shop anymore. How does that clarity come? Right from the first stage I told you. You do not shop. अपने अंदर क्लैरिटी रखो. मैं इक्विटी रिसर्च एनालिस्ट के रोल के लिए कर रहा हूं, मेरे टॉप 5 ड्रीम फर्म्स ये है, इसमें से भी एक में भी ऑफर आया, आई एम गोइंग टू इमीडिएटली ज्वाइन. Promptness in joining is a signal how excited you are, also as excited the recruiter is to have you in the firm. That shows intent, right? So these are the gates. This is how you get into the inner circle. Now let me come to the resume. Ab, as I told you, if you believe that you should have a resume which is more than one page, believe me, you are not going to get noticed. You are not going to get noticed. You can try it as an experiment. 50 फॉर्म्स में से 25 को आप अपना रेज्यूमे भेजो जो ग्रेटर देन वन पेज है, 25 को भेजो जो इन वन पेज है. You will see the response rates. I am sure all of us can do that little bit of math ourselves. Once the responses come, you will see. You will not get responses from the firms where your resume is more than one page. रेज्यूमे का एक फॉर्मेट है जो मैं डिटेल पे एनालिस्ट स्टैक में कवर करूंगा, पर आपको फॉर्मूला आज दे देता हूं. राइट इट डाउन प्लीज. Every bullet point in a resume is a function of three components. Three components. What are the three components? The first is an action verb. The first is an action verb. Leveraged, spearheaded, led, built. These are action verbs. Examples of action verbs. The second is what you did. The third is result or impact with numbers. Third is the result or impact with numbers. Example is developed GTM strategies for 8 plus brands by launching ATL or BTL campaigns and playbooking launch roadmaps, thereby increasing the brand's contribution by 5%. One example. I'll give you my resume example from my Uber days. Led the implementation and testing of Uber Pass, a first of rider VIP program in the world, increasing weekly Uber trips by 15% in 3 months, and it was scaled to 7 plus cities. This is an example of action verb plus what you did plus quantifying it by numbers. As I told you, I'm happy to review resumes pro bono on LinkedIn. Reach out to me, but reach out to me with this format. Try, at least try. We will work it out together, but try. What is the format that I gave you? Action verb plus what you did plus result, right? I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example from the finance field. Built a 3 statement model for 2 listed companies, improving understanding of revenue and margin delivered across 5 scenarios. This is an example of what you did, how you did, and what was the result. Not कि अच्छा I built a 3 statement model that helped the organization a lot. You cannot write this in a resume. You cannot write this. This is an example of what you write. Another finance example is, आप लोग portfolio track करते हो बहुत frequently सब लोग. So I made an example for you. Created a portfolio tracker for 12 stocks, reducing weekly review time from 60 minutes to 20 minutes. Reducing weekly time from 60 minutes to 20 minutes. You created a portfolio tracker of 12 stocks. This is what will bring value on your resume. Right now, coming to the LinkedIn. Guys, let me tell you, LinkedIn is not social media. आप कितना पोस्ट लाइक करते हो, कितना पोस्ट शेयर करते हो, उसके लिए इंस्टाग्राम है हमारे पास. LinkedIn is not social media. It is your public proof surface. If your LinkedIn looks weak, a recruiter assumes your resume is exaggerated, जैसा मैंने बोला था स्टार्ट में. एग्जाम्पल्स, आपका आपका लिंक्डइन का हेडलाइन कैसा दिखना चाहिए? इक्विटी रिसर्च एस्पिरेंट पीरियड, built 3 stock memos plus valuation models period, BFIC and FMCG. आप देखो इससे आपने क्या किया, इक्विटी रिसर्च एस्पिरेंट आपने डाल दिया. कोई भी रिक्रूटर इक्विटी रिसर्च सर्च करेगा, आप उसके ऊपर में आओगे. बिल्ड 3 stock मेमोज इज प्रूफ कि आपने काम किया है, यू आर नॉट फ्लफिंग. BFICI एंड FMCG शोज कि अच्छा ये सेक्टर्स पे मैंने काम किया है. तो इवन इफ पीपल आर लुकिंग फॉर एक्सपर्ट्स और इक्विटी रिसर्च एस्पिरेंट्स इन दीज सेक्टर्स, यू विल ऑल्सो शो अप अगेन. So discoverability increases, right? So as a homework which we will review in analyst tag, आप अपना LinkedIn profiles मेरे साथ share करो. After optimizing it, mind you, after optimizing it, don't share LinkedIn profiles just for the sake of connecting. Yes, we will connect. It is more the merrier. But if you want me to review the LinkedIn profile, you need to optimize it the way I have requested you to do it, right? So this is what getting into the inner circle looks like. As I told you, I have just touched the surface of these things, giving you a flavor. We are going to deep dive into this later in the analyst tag program. Now let's come to the consulting toolkit. Anyone applying to McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Oliver Wyman, Roland Berger, please note that you need to make a new best friend. The name of that person is Victor Cheng. You need to make him your best friend starting today. Take his books, there are free resources available online, and go through that book cover to cover. Don't mug it up, because the case study that is explained in that particular book is not what the interviewer is going to ask you. They all know that Victor Cheng has been your best friend for the last 3 months. But go cover by cover, understand the concepts, understand what Victor Cheng is teaching you, how to approach the interview. Now, let me tell you, let's have fun. Let's do a okay. So, does everyone know what a guesstimate is? Does everyone know what a guesstimate is? A guesstimate is an interviewer asking you to estimate something in real life without Google, without ChatGPT, without cloud, without internet, paper, pen, your first principles thinking. So we will solve a guesstimate today. This guesstimate, by the way, was asked to me in my McKinsey final interview. And this was asked the moment I sat on the table to see how well I handle pressure. No introductions, no how are you, how has your day been, have you had your breakfast, have you had your lunch, none of these questions. Simple, I sat on the table and the interviewer asked me, how many iPhones are sold in India in 1 year and what revenue does that represent? There was pin drop silence in the room for a minute, because I knew what I need to do, because I was prepared for guesstimates, but I had not prepared for this particular guesstimate. So let me give you a framework today. I'm repeating the question. How many iPhones are sold in India in 1 year and what revenue does that represent? Before touching the numbers, the framework that I'm giving you is, whenever you estimate annual product sales in any country, please use this structure. Units sold equal to population of the country multiplied by penetration multiplied by replacement rate multiplied by the market share. Replacement rate is very important. Do you change your phone every year? No, it will give you an output which is not close to the actual number. More than the actual number, you have to understand that guesstimates is all about first principle and logical thinking. The interviewer is not evaluating whether Vidyut is giving me the right output in terms of the number. The interviewer is evaluating इसने कैसे सोचा, how did he think and how did he arrive at the output. That is what matters. Your numbers could be little bit here and there. Now, of course, you cannot do something wrong as 10 is 20% of 100. If you make this mistake that 10 is 20% of 100, then that's a red flag. 10 is 10% of 100. You cannot make such grave errors. But here and there, let's say 1 crore 5 lakh की जगह आपने 1 crore बोल दिया, it is forgiven. Do not panic in the interview. You should focus on the logic, the steps that you are showing to come to that answer. So what are the steps? Units sold is equal to population multiplied by penetration multiplied by replacement rate multiplied by market share. And once we get the units sold, revenue is simple: units into average selling price. That is the playbook. Let's apply it now. What is the population of India? By the way, these numbers, population of India, population of Delhi, population of Bombay, Calcutta, it has to be in your fingertips. Write these numbers down from Google. It has to be in your fingertips. India's population is 140 crores. Now we'll focus on the working age population. Let's say it is 65%. 140 crore ka 65% is roughly about 90 crores. Let's assume 90 crores है. इसमें से कितने स्मार्टफोन पेनिट्रेशन है इंडिया में? With the advent of Jio, with the advent of YouTube being available for free, with the advent of tier 2 handsets, we assume that 70% smartphone penetration is there. You have to give these reasons why smartphone penetration is higher than the last decade. The initiatives that the government is taking, this also shows that you are aware of the macro things that are going in your industry and economy. 70% smartphone penetration, so 90 crores ka 70% is roughly about 60 crore smartphone users. Now, what is the replacement cycle? Now, because of the shelf life of phones, because of the high usage of phones, because of the change in fashion, because of the change in new technology, it is safe to assume that a 3-year replacement cycle as opposed to a 6-7-year replacement cycle 10 years back. I am assuming a 3-year replacement cycle. So 60 crores ka 3%, the 60 crores divided by 3 is roughly about 20 crores smartphones sold annually. Now, Apple's market share by volume. India is a price sensitive market. Remember, I asked you the question, how many iPhones are sold in India, not in the US? So India ka market share, India is a price sensitive market. So you assume 4%, 4 to 5%. That's a conservative assumption you can take. So 20 ka 4%, we had calculated 20 crores by the 3-year replacement cycle. Uska 4% is roughly about 85 lakhs. So 85 lakh iPhones are sold per year. 85 lakh iPhones are sold per year. Take it in, take it in. I know the volume is at 85 lakh iPhones are sold per year. But यहाँ पे आप इसको stop नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि if you remember the question I asked, what does revenue mean for this? आपने estimate कर लिया कि 84 lakhs iPhone बिकते हैं साल में. What is revenue? What is the average iPhone price? 70,000. अपने GST लेते हैं, अपने cards use करते हैं, cashback मिलता है 70,000. So 84 lakh into 70,000 rupees per phone is roughly around 60,000 crores. 60,000 crores. And here is what is going to impress when you say in the guesstimate that Apple doesn't win India by selling the most phones. It wins by selling the most expensive phones. 60,000 crore rupees a year is revenue for Apple only by selling iPhones in India. So in strategy, remember, market share is always vanity. Margin share is sanity. Remember, margin share is sanity, not market share. This is an example of a live guesstimate that was asked in a McKinsey interview, and this is how you have to solve it. Steps are very clear. First, clarify the question. Sir, do you mean that only iPhone units sold in India and revenue for that year? You are free to ask the clarifying question. The interviewer will say yes or correct you. Clarifying question. Then take a minute. Always say, Sir, can I please have a minute to articulate my thoughts better? Take that minute. Even if you know the answer, take that minute, because it shows the interviewer that this person is taking time before speaking, is not an impulsive speaker. Take that 1 minute, gather your thoughts, write it down on the paper, then lay down the framework. This is, sir, how I'm going to solve the problem. Then once you have laid down the framework, एक एक framework के part को पकड़ो, तोड़ो, खोलो खोलो उसको, come to the answer, write it down, go to the next part. Ultimately, do a summary consolidation that based on this framework, based on the parts I took you through, this is my final answer. That is what makes a good first principle thinker solve a problem. This is the structure that you have to follow. So with that, this is the consulting toolkit. Guesstimations is one part. The second part is a case study. This I am not going to solve it with you because we don't believe in spoon feeding at SSEI. But note the case study down. I will ask Kavya also from my team to share it with all the attendees in this webinar. Work on it. Let's see how we can solve it together, but give it a shot. Don't use Google Chat GPT. That defeats the purpose. आपके पास इंटरव्यू में कोई GPT, कोई क्लॉड, कोई नहीं होगा सॉल्व करने के लिए. So here is a prompt that I am giving to you, which is as a homework. ले लो, फ्रेंड्स से डिस्कस करो. Discuss this. These are rich discussions that you should do before a consulting interview. The prompt is, you are advising a national cafe in India with 100 outlets across major cities. You are advising a national cafe chain in India with 100 outlets across major cities. Over the past year, mark my words, over the past year, revenue has increased by 20%. Total cups sold increased by 20%. Profits declined by 30%. Profits have declined by 30%. The CEO of this national chain believes that the marketing team is inefficient and wants to increase the advertising spend. You have been hired to diagnose the real problem. What is your task? Your task is identify what could explain rising revenue but falling profit. That's the first task. Second is quantify where the issue likely lies. Diagnose the root cause of the problem. And the third is recommend clear prioritized actions. What do you want the CEO of this national chain to do? You may assume no major store closures have happened in the last 1 year. No major regulatory changes have happened. Competitive intensity has increased slightly. Competitive intensity has increased slightly. How will you approach this? I would love to hear your answers and advice that you would give to a national cafe chain CEO if you are hired as a consultant. I see that a lot of students have already started answering. Take a minute. We just discussed. Take a minute. Articulate your thoughts. Articulate your thoughts and present. We are all here to help you. We are all here to discuss. Have these discussions with your friends. Have these discussions with your peers. दिमाग खुलेगा. Inputs बनेंगे. Interviewer के लिए आप बेहतर तैयार होगे. That's it from my side. Sir, I hope that the audience could make some use of the session that we just did. And if you have any follow up questions or you would like me to cover something else, please let me know. I'm happy to do it.
The problem is that, Vidyut, you started teaching what we have to teach in analyst tech. Plus, since we were constrained in time, you were doing it fast. Okay, because obviously there was a watch running. So, first of all, participants, Vidyut is going to lead that module number 4, which is on career development. And उसने कोशिश किया कि वो जो भी उसमें कराने वाला है उसको कैसे न कैसे 20 मिनट्स में 25 मिनट्स में फटाफट बोल दे. सो देयर कुड बी, मैं बता रहा हूँ कितने टाइप के पार्टिसिपेंट्स थे. There would be 20% participants who were thinking, wow, man, I really want to go into consultancy. There were 20% other participants who are as a part of their CFA journey. Okay, वो लोग ये चीज करते हैं, टैम का एस्टिमेशन, मार्केट शेयर का एस्टिमेशन, पेनिट्रेशन का एस्टिमेशन. ओके, ये करते हैं तो उनको वो रिलेट हो रहा था उससे, बट इट मस्ट हैव बीन फास्ट. यार रिलेट हो पा रहा है पर ये इतना जल्दी बोल रहा है, ऐसे में कैसे सोच लूं? तो यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट विद्युत वाज अ लिटिल बिट फास्ट बिकॉज ही वाज ट्राइंग टू कम्युनिकेट टू मच इन टू शॉर्टर टाइम. There might be some other candidates who have a great potential, जिनका दम है ब्रेन वाइज, बट उन्होंने कभी ब्रेन को एक्सरसाइज वैसे नहीं किया है. होता है ना कि तुम्हारे बहुत बढ़िया बिल्टअप है फिजिकली, बट यू हैव नेवर वेंट टू द जिम, यू हैव नेवर एक्सरसाइज योर मसल. तो आपको लगता है नहीं यार ये बहुत ज्यादा सोचना है, आई डोंट थिंक आई कैन थिंक दैट वे. मेरा ठीक है, एक चैप्टर होता है, चैप्टर को पढ़ते, प्रिपेयर करते, क्वेश्चन करते, एग्जाम देते. मेरे को वही चाहिए लाइफ. तो लाइफ डजंट हैपन लाइक दैट कि यू विल प्रिपेयर अ चैप्टर, प्रिपेयर एन एग्जाम. ये क्या खुला डिस्कशन है when it comes to the world of consultant, not only consultancy, when it comes to the world of decision making. So I would say that सबसे पहले अगर कोई भी स्टूडेंट्स थर्ड कैटेगरी में थे जिनके लिए इट वाज बिकमिंग लाइक ओवरली कॉम्प्लिकेटेड इन दैट थिंग, you do not need to think this way. You need to come out of the luxury zone. You cannot think about life being an exam. Class 11 12 में पढ़े, एग्जाम दिए, चैप्टर हुआ, पढ़े, प्रैक्टिस की, एग्जाम दिए. दैट वे नहीं होगा. बट ऑफ कोर्स आप अपना ओरिएंटेशन अगर बढ़ाओगे तो आपका माइंड चैलेंजिंग हो जाएगा. एंड वेन एवर द चैलेंज कम्स यू विल हैव अ वे टू थिंक, एंड ऑल दैट विल बी कम्युनिकेटेड इन द स्टैक itself. 15 plus sectors, okay, and how to handle interviews and all that stuff. Okay, I was saying that everybody was taking a deep interest in what Vidyut was speaking, but it was fast. Okay, so excuse me and excuse us for the speed that was involved. And so I think all the three speakers, Shiladitya, Ishant, and Vidyut, have put in their best as in case, as in introducing the entire stuff. Uh, if somebody would like to at this juncture, Shiladitya or Ishant, want to compulsorily pitch in with something, then fine, you can do it. or else we head on to the Q&A, which Shubhkan ji requested. Ki obviously we want the session to be only that long. So the Q&A that you are going to ask Shubhkan should be the ones that are most common and should be summarized and should be differential, because it's frustrative to answer the same question which has been answered in the discussions that have taken place. So Shiladitya, Ishant, would you like to pitch in or should we move for the Q&A?
Nothing from my side. We can move from my side towards Q&A. Ishant, if you want to
Yeah,
pitch.
yeah, sure. All the attendees, if you want any updates related to what's going on in VCIB, you can definitely connect me over LinkedIn, since we are helping all those who are in their early stage of the careers and want to get into VCIB. They can definitely connect with me, and our team will definitely help you in that. And thank you for attending this session.
Yeah,
We can take that forward into Q&A now. Yeah.
Q&A.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to all the panelists. First question is on skills, tools, and signaling to employers. So beyond degrees, what actually signals? And how important, sorry, what actually signal readiness to hiring managers today? And how should candidates showcase things like personal portfolios, weekend funds, internship, or even temporary drawdowns in returns? And how important are tools like Python, Power BI, Alteryx, or financial modeling for buy side and corporate finance roles?
So I think to some extent it was answered, okay? Because I think all the three speakers, they never focused too much on degrees. They understood the profile of the audience कि जो आप में है वो तो है ही, okay? And they were focusing on the other parts only. But towards the end, there was a question that you asked about how important is Python financial modeling for the buy side and stuff. So I think Shiladitya, would you would like to answer that?
Yeah, sure. Um, so th- from the angle of just answering Python and all of these languages, so I don't think they're too sought after, at least from the places that I've worked for. I don't think they're highly sought after. Of course, if you're into trading, HFT, MFT, LFT as concepts, right? Obviously, then that changes. Then you have to be very good at math, right? Then you sort of program your uh, trading into those codes, right? So then it becomes relevant. But if you're doing a pure fundamental sort of analysis, right? Then I don't think it's highly sought after as such right now. Of course, the use of AI tools is sought after, right? And funds are looking for people who can come in and add that value and make their life simpler. Research becomes faster, right? And how to best use AI tools, that will definitely be sought after from different funds. But I don't think programming by itself, I don't think it's sought after, at least in fundamental analysis.
Yeah, I would like to add over here that basically alternate data, alternate data is becoming very important in order to become more competitive in terms of being proactive and spot opportunities. So what Shiladitya was wanting to hint about is that as a equity, as an active manager, if you were to actually beat the competition, beat the benchmark, beat your fellow managers in universe, you have to move towards alternate data. But the Indian market has not become matured enough to use alternate data. It may be because of paucity of alternate data itself. It may be because obviously we operate 1 or 2 years behind US. But as far as US is concerned, alternate data is handsomely being used. And even in that, what Shiladitya said, that you don't need to imagine yourself to become a data scientist. I think we are not talking about that. We are not talking about becoming a data scientist. We are talking about becoming a fund manager who is equipped with data scientists and the tools. So he should be knowing the narrative as to क्या चीज से मेरे को अर्ली एंट्री मिल सकता है या एक बाइंग अपॉर्चुनिटी मिल सकता है एंड हाउ विल दैट बी डन हाउ द कोडिंग विल बी डन इट इज नॉट something that his business is involved into that. Shiladitya, do you agree with what I said?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Alternate data is highly sought after, right? To create that edge in your research, which other people don't have to, let's say, maybe take a call on the stock where it'll move. So, yeah, you're absolutely correct on that. Yes.
Yeah, so alternate data means picture your data on satellite images Okay.
Yes, yes.
Data even on sunlight का जो visuals होता on the field, they are then studied as to what type of vegetation has taken place, so
Yes.
that one can predict agricultural prices and all that. That's happening big time in US,
Yes.
and will happen in India. There's no doubt about it.
Hedge funds actually use a lot of that. So the likes of Citadel, Millennium, all these guys, they have a war chest for just getting that edge.
Mhm.
Doesn't happen too often with mutual funds and PMSs, family office. That doesn't happen too often.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Our audience, a lot of them are very, very aspirational in terms of getting into hedge funds, believe me. So I said this जानबूझ के so as to appease them that remember, yes, वो वाला चीज है, okay, and your aspiration should not be curtailed because of what India जिस level पे अभी operate कर रहा है.
absolutely, absolutely. Agree, agree.
And the last question is related to career transitions. So basically, for professionals who feel stuck returning after a career break or transitioning from audit or big four roles into core finance, how should they approach the switch strategically? And how should they rebuild confidence and CVs? And what compensation expectations are realistic at different stages?
Ishant, would you like to pitch in?
Yeah, definitely. So if you are coming from a audit or a taxation background, purely from a chartered accountancy perspective, and want to get into core finance role, I would suggest you should get into a small IB or a small M&A firm, and make them believe in you that you know finance, and you can definitely given a pure guidance and given pure rally about how what you work and how you can make them value add and impact their organization. It is a value addition. Initially when I talked about you should add a financial model while sending your CV, you should know what are the numbers behind that and how that financial model is working, correct? So even if you are from audit background, you are very much uh, you know what are financial, and you have a very deep understanding into the financial statements. That is a very plus point. So if you are from audit background, getting into a small M&A firm or a FDD firm, it's not like you have to get into big four every time, but it can be a starter to your core finance field. If it is small IB firm or a M&A firm, there are various firms, and majorly firms are concentrated either in Mumbai, NCR, or Bangalore region, because here are the money market, and all the investors are also here. So getting into small M&A firm is a plus. Big four is not the only option, and uh, if you want to get into core finance, you should have that mindset that, like audit me, you are working day in and day out. But if you are into IB or a VC, you have to work in day in and day out with your applied knowledge. It's not like you are just there. You have to apply practically and have to apply brains 24 by 7. Look, getting into VC and IB is a tough, but sustaining into that is more difficult. So start with a small IB or a VC firm or a FDD firm. They will give you a push to core finance, and then you can definitely switch into in a big VC or IB firm.
Okay, I would like to add something over here. मेरे ख्याल से जो लोग भी स्विच करने का सोचते हैं, who are there in regulatory and compliance roles, be true to yourself. Assess yourself कि क्या आप लास्ट 10 साल से 5 साल से जब से आप इसमें थे, क्या आपको माने मार्केट्स को आप ट्रैक कर रहे थे? क्या आपको लगता है आप धंधों को फील कर पाते हैं, बिजनेस मॉडल क्रैक कर पाते हैं? व्हाट इज योर लेवल? व्हाट डू यू थिंक? धंधे का समझ कितना है और कितना पैशनेट है आपको धंधे का समझ? तो इफ यू आर ट्रू टू योर सेल्फ यू विल गेट द रिप्लाई, हाँ मेरे को है। इफ यू आर, और अदरवाइज रिप्लाई ये भी आ सकता है, नहीं यार इतना नहीं है, अपने तो बॉक डाउन थे इन टर्म्स ऑफ आवर वर्क और वो सब नहीं कर पाए, पर लगता है दूसरे साइड में जाना चाहिए बिकॉज दूसरे साइड में ज्यादा ही है। तो नंबर वन, यू हैव टू बी ट्रू टू योर सेल्फ। अगर केस वन है दैट धंधे का समझ है, तो बिलीव मी, इफ यू कैन सिट फॉर एन इंटरव्यू, जैसे ईशांत वाज इंडिकेटिंग, you will be able to communicate that audience that yes, I was in this profile and I was a champion of financials, because जो पर्सन ऑडिट किया है, अकाउंट्स किया, डोमेन में था, उसके पास डेटा को सहने का, पीएल बैलेंस शीट, एमडीए वगैरह, वो चैंपियन होता है, वो उसमें दिन रात जिया है, ठीक है। तो एंड ही कैन इजीली start, given that he has the business model ka bent, he can start connecting the same and make a good presentation so that he'll be appeasing the prospective employer. अगर आप फर्स्ट कैटेगरी हो कि सर मैंने ऐसा किया बट मेरे को लगता है मेरे को नहीं है धंधे का समझ वगैरह, तो बिलीव मी, मैंने इट में सीन दैट मैं वैसे बोल रहा हूँ, बट एनालिस्ट टैक जैसा प्रोग्राम इज 100% परफेक्ट, बिकॉज ये 5 मंथ्स में जो आपको धंधे का समझ दे देगा अक्रॉस 15 सेक्टर्स यूजिंग द अप टू डेट एआई जो क्लॉड ने निकाला है, और कोई सब्सटीट्यूट नहीं है इसका। आई कुड हैव सेड सीएफए विच इज अ लॉन्ग ड्रॉन अफेयर, आप धीरे धीरे कर सकते हो, बट एनालिस्ट टैक इज स्ट्रेट अवे सॉल्विंग दैट इश्यू। तो इन दैट केस यू हैव टू अप्रोच इट दैट वे, यू हैव टू सी आपके में कितना पुकार है। एंड इसमें बहुत बड़ा एक डिसीजन था जो शुभकांत जी ने पूछा था, उन्होंने पूछा व्हाट वुड बी द कॉम्पेंसेशन का इफेक्ट, ओके, बिकॉज इफ यू आर रियली वर्किंग फॉर द लास्ट 10 12 15 years इन अ सर्टेन डोमेन, बिकॉज ऑफ द एक्सपीरियंस, आपका एक पैकेज एक सर्टेन लेवल पे चला गया, से somebody working at 26 lakh 28 lakhs in the audit domain, ये चला गया, now that person wants to shift into the core finance domain, तो इन दैट की सबसे पहली चिंता आती है कि 26 28 लाख से कट कैसे ले पाएंगे, एंड वो कट कितना डीप होगा, क्या वो 26 28 से 20 होगा या 26 28 से 12 होगा, बिकॉज यू आर मैरिड, यू हैव किड्स, you have a certain lifestyle, it's easy for anybody to sit on such panelists and zoom session and give a dialogue कि कट तो लेना ही पड़ेगा, but it actually matters a lot। तो in that case वो होता है ना कि बीच में क्या कर पाएंगे, हाउ डू आई शिफ्ट टू माई लव्ड थिंग विच आई वांट टू डू इन फ्यूचर, एंड बीच में जो कैश फ्लो का डेंट हो रहा है उसको मैं कैसे मेकअप करूं। यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, एवरीबडी हैज डन, हमने सब ने, जो भी यहाँ बैठे हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल विद्युत है, ईशांत है, शिलादित्य है, वी हैव पास थ्रू द प्रोसेस जहां पे वी वांटेड टू परस्यू समथिंग, बट बीच में देयर वाज अ प्रॉब्लम ऑफ कैश फ्लो एंड देयरफॉर वी हैड टू पुट आवर स्टेप्स ऑन टू डिफरेंट शिप्स। Okay, that indication should be enough. Can't get into your customized situation to talk about it, okay, but you must be understanding that compensation वाला चीज extreme मेहनत से, perspiration से बीच में manage हो सकता है, and धीरे धीरे you will find आप जिस चीज में गए अगर passionate थे, you will do well, वो पैकेज बढ़ते जाएगा phenomenal rate से, and you don't have to step onto two ships। ओके, सो कॉम्पेंसेशन वाला पार्ट आई होप मैंने हिंट दे दिया है, इट इज नॉट पॉसिबल टू ओपन इट आउट इन अ customized manner for each and every person ka situation. Also, all the three speakers, Shiladitya, Vidyut, and Ishant, have indicated that yes, you all can reach out to them. Okay, Vidyut ने तो आप लोग को होमवर्क ही दे दिया, ठीक है, कि भाई इसका जवाब देना कि रिगार्डिंग वो 20% अगर रेवेन्यू बढ़ा, क्वांटिटी बढ़ा और फिर भी प्रॉफिट मार्जिन कम हो गई, क्यों हो गई वगैरह वगैरह, प्लीज रीच आउट टू देम ऑन लिंक्डइन, ठीक है। देयर इज नो इशू एट ऑल, बिकॉज we wanted the sessions to be 1 hour ka, and this session I think had extended to 1.5 hours, so that would not be suitable when it is uploaded on social media, YouTube, but I think it was a wonderful session, okay. Vidyut took a lot of time and very speed, but I think he created that, मतलब जो फाइनेंस वाले बच्चे अपने आप को चैंपियन समझते हैं ना, वो लोग चैंपियन कैसे समझते हैं विद्युत बता रहा हूँ, चैप्टर करते हैं, क्वेश्चंस करते हैं, 90% लाते हैं, लगता है मैं ही तो हूं, ठीक है। तो इनको बड़ा लाइफ दिखाना पड़ता है कि भाई चैप्टर करने के बाद तुमने किया ना, ये द एंटायर लाइफ इज अ चैप्टर, अब आओ तुम कॉमन सेंस के बेसिस पे, एंड दैट रियली इज समथिंग दैट चैलेंजेस पीपल, दैट यार am I really worth what I was understanding myself to be? And such challenges at this age are required so that you become double energetic enough to explore new areas, not only your academics. We at Analyst Stack are very geared and ready to welcome you, to take you to the next level. And uh, I'm really thankful to Shiladitya and Ishant. And believe me, ये relationship जो इस particular webinar के कारण आप लोगों से हुआ है, this relationship will nurture into a much bigger one. Okay, to some
For sure.
extent, you are aware that I am also into the process of starting a few funds in the derivative side and in the long PMS side. ठीक है, वहां पे भी रिक्वायरमेंट पड़ेगा, प्लस जो हमारे टीचर असिस्टेंट होते हैं ना, जो मेरे अंडर काम करते हैं टीए, तो वो 4 5 साल तक दे वर्क अंडर मी एंड दे जनरेट अ डिफरेंट कैलिबर ऑल टुगेदर। सो आई वुड प्रोवाइड यू दोस टीएस का दिस थिंग कि भाई इसको लगाओ, एंड यू विल फाइंड दैट वो जो बंदा हायर करेगा वो तो वो डेफिनेटली याद रखेगा कि यू हैड रियली गिवन अ वेरी गुड कैंडिडेट। सो ये रिलेशनशिप अब जिंदगी भर चलने वाला है।
For sure, sir. We also
Thank
hope
you
for
so
that.
much. Yeah,
Thank you so much for
same
having,
here, sir.
and great interacting with both Vidyut and Ishant. I definitely learned a lot from both of them. and hope to be part of such events going forward in the future as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Shiladitya, Ishant, and Sir, of course. Sir is always the anchor who consolidates everything and then passes it on to the students in a manner that helps them. But as I said, coming from a background where I haven't done CFA, CA, and have not worked in any buy side or sell side firm, Shiladitya and Ishant got a lot to learn from you. Let's see if I tend to pivot sometime in life, then you guys will be my go-to people.
Thank you so
Sure.
much, everyone, for attending this session. And sir, definitely you have highlighted everything and summarized and consolidated everything. But just want to add one thing to all the attendees who are just in air over the call. I mean, degree can end up you over the interview, but sustaining there is your mindset. If you have that mindset to be there, then you can end up achieving successes all over your life. Work on your mindset, and yeah, analyst tech will definitely help you in that.
Okay, so thank you to our panelists for their invaluable insights and to Sanjay sir for steering today's discussion. We hope this session gave you clarity on role, skills, and how to break into finance in 2026. And thank you everyone for joining us, and we wish you a great success ahead. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.